There's never been a better time to publish high content books. With the most recent royalty change, it does seem like Amazon is cracking down on lower quality, cheaper books and favoring the ones that make them more money. And there is a big misconception that high content books are more expensive and more work. And although they do take a little bit more of an investment, when you know how to create them a certain way, they can actually be very affordable and manageable to create. So the fastest way to make it easier for you to actually make more money on Amazon is to set yourself up so you can sell less books. And creating books that generate more royalties is the best way to do that. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create high content books on easy mode, so it doesn't break your brain, and most importantly, it doesn't break the bank. I will be using various AI prompts throughout this video just to make your book creation process as seamless and as easy as possible. So if you do want access to all of those, I will leave a Google Doc linked below. You don't have to put your email in or anything like that. It's just going to be a simple doc you can make a copy of. But with that out of the way, let's dive into the video. So if you haven't been here before, my name is Ken. I made about $140,000 on Amazon with paperback books, as well as sold an additional about 9,000 audiobooks. And on this channel, I just give away everything I've learned about Amazon KDP in the past few years. No nonsense, no fluff, just actual walkthroughs and detailed information. So what exactly is high content publishing on easy mode? So of course we want to streamline the process. We want to outsource everything possible, and most importantly, do it as cheap as we can. And we of course want to use AI whenever possible. This of course streamlines the process and saves us money where we can. And our goal is to publish high content books fast, without breaking the bank, and most importantly, ones that can actually make money. High quality books in good topics. So the publishing process as follows is, of course, we have to find a book topic. I'm going to show you how to do this as fast and as easy as possible, while still finding topics that have lots of potential. Of course, we have to create our book outline. Once again, I'm going to show you how to use AI to do this in the most effective way. We then have to find a ghostwriter for our book, which is arguably the most expensive thing about high content books. However, with a few tweaks, we can bring this cost way down. We of course have to create our book accessories, things like our book title, our cover, our description. And lastly, we have to of course launch our book. I've done over 150 one-on-one coaching calls with people trying to build their Amazon KDP business. And the main thing I've noticed is that even if they nail everything else, the book launch is the main place where people fail. Definitely take this seriously, because if you're not launching your book correctly, you're going to be selling yourself short and you're never going to achieve any results with your books. So finding a book topic, what is the fastest and the most efficient way to actually find good book topics? So before we dive into that, we have to actually understand what to look for. And the important thing is that not all high content books are created equal. We have to look for topics that are easy to create, are less words to actually write, so it's cheaper. We have to find things that aren't super technical, so they're not only easier to make, but it's not going to be a complete headache. We also have to find books that work for us and a simple formula we can follow and repeat with more books. And so some topics that we can look for are things like cookbooks. Cookbooks are very beginner friendly. There's lots of demand in the right topics, and they're only a little bit more effort than low content books. Fitness books are very similar to cookbooks. They're just going to be an introduction, talking about some core ideas, and then each chapter will cover a bunch of exercises. However, each of those pages will have the same layout and format. Workbooks are easy to make as well, because there are a lot of just prompts and places for people to write things and fill out charts. And if you are on a limited budget, one of the best things you can do is, of course, create one of these books. However, only create it with about 20,000 words. So the average high content book is probably 30,000 words. That's super standard. However, you can definitely get away with a cookbook or a fitness book with less words. It's going to drastically bring down the cost. It might even work in your favor because you can have a more desirable offer. Maybe your cookbook has only 5 ingredients or less per recipe, and it's just the easy, fast track way to learn the topic. But now that we know what to look for, you're probably wondering where we can actually find these topics. And although there is a longer process that you can go through by looking through Amazon, scrolling through the books, and validating certain topics based on certain metrics. However, if you want to bypass all of that, bypass the searching, the validating, and just go and see topics that actually have potential, we can use the BookBeam niche finder. The BookBeam niche finder allows us to narrow down our search metrics, so it only shows us books that fall under a certain set of parameters. So I will leave BookBeam linked below if you don't have it already. This video isn't sponsored, however, any link below will be an affiliate link, but I wouldn't recommend anything I don't use myself. But basically with the BookBeam niche finder, like I said, you can just plug in certain metrics, and it's only going to show you books that fall under those metrics. So it makes it super easy to bypass the tedious searching through Amazon and just see books that we want to see. So when it comes to the metrics themselves, you're just going to want to put the bestseller rank to 30,000. This is the rank that each book gets assigned based on how much sales it makes per day. So the reason we want 30,000 is we want to look for books that have a BSR rank of something that we want to get. So I don't want books that have a 50,000 BSR or more. If you want to make any money with Amazon, having that 30,000 or less is definitely the way to do so. Of course, if you want to expand your search, you can raise this to maybe 35,000. but I wouldn't really go over 40 because like I said, we want our book to be less than this so it actually makes some money. So we can go 35,000. Sales per day you can leave alone. When it comes to number of ratings, we want to change this to 200 or less. So we don't want to just find a bunch of books with this BSR. We specifically want to find books that have low reviews in this BSR. That's telling us that there are books that have low reviews, of course, and they're selling well, pretty much proving that the topic is valid. Because if you can find a book on a topic with 200 reviews or less, and it's selling well, there's no reason why you can't create a book that does sell well too. For the price, we want to set the limit to as low as $9. The reason we don't want to go below this is because it will show a bunch of low content books. We don't want that. And finally, for the age, we want to set it to 6 months. The reason being is we don't want to see books that are years old. Of course, they are still valid. However, if there is a topic that is popular right now, it's very likely a book will be published in it within the last 6 months. So it just narrows down the results and sees things that are performing today. So of course, if you want to widen your search pool, you can increase this. However, 6 months is a good place to start. I forgot to mention the publisher. You can set this to self-published. This will just only show books that are independently published with an Amazon ISBN and just makes the search results a bit more valid and relatable to what we're looking for. It's not going to show a bunch of best-selling authors or bigger brands. So we just simply click Find Books. So now BookBeam will show us books that fall under these metrics. So as you can see, they're new, they have low reviews, they have a low BSR rank. You can even check the BSR history, which is super cool. And it's a great way to just bypass the searching on Amazon and go straight to the source of what's working. So we have all-in-one print handwriting workbook for kids, the pink salt trick recipe for weight loss. We have another pink salt book here, so this might be worth recording and looking into. And of course, just create a list somewhere. Maybe it's a spreadsheet, maybe it's a Google Doc, and just start to record these potential topics you find. Ninja Slushy Cookbook for Beginners. So as you can see, it's starting to show us topics that are just performing well. Now we can make a list and we can go and actually check these topics on Amazon just to further validate that they are good. And of course, if you want any more searches, you can just simply adjust your results. You can go to 250 reviews, you can go to 37,000 BSR, and just see what you can find. So as you can see, I searched up this topic here, Ninja Slushy Cookbook for Beginners. And as you can see, there are books selling well with low reviews. It's clearly showing there is at least a little bit of demand for this, probably for summer, but definitely think it would be worth looking into. This book could be relatively easy and cheap to make. And as you can see, there isn't much competition. The most reviewed book has 60 reviews. So to become one of the best ranking books here, it will be relatively easy. Simply make a nice book. You launch it well with at least 50 reviews and you should be at least making a little bit of sales. So I personally would go for a topic that has a bit more demand, a few more books selling, and something that isn't as seasonal. But you get the idea and you can see how the niche finder can be super valuable. So if you don't have the BookBeam niche finder and you want to know what metrics to look for, basically we want to look for winning books. These are books that have less than 200 reviews and a BSR rank of 30,000 or less. If you want to know how to view the BSR rank on Amazon, you can simply get the BookBeam tool. It will show you this. Or you can go to the Chrome store and type in DS Amazon Quick View. That's another free tool that will show you these ranks as well. We also want to look at the authority figures in the topic. These are books that have over 500 reviews. We ideally want to have less than 3 of these. The best case scenario is we see books that have low reviews, a low BSR rank proving that they're selling, and few authority figures so we can actually compete with the books that are there. Because if the only books that are ranking are books that are selling well with low reviews, there's clearly demand and there's no reason why we wouldn't be able to sell either. And the final thing is when it comes to your targeting of your topic, you want to make sure you're solving one problem. We don't want to go into too broad of topics. We want to make sure that our book is solving one problem for one person. This ensures that our topic isn't too broad. So we know the metrics we're looking at are actually valid. And we're just predicting as accurately as possible if the keyword is actually good or not. Because if it's too broad, we don't know for sure which books are selling well. We want to make sure that the books are specific, they're solving one problem for one person, and they're all relatable. So we know that if we create a book on that topic, it's actually going to sell. So use a niche finder or go look on Amazon for these parameters and find a topic that has clear demand. So if you do want me to walk you through this process a bit more in depth and actually go in and show you exactly what I do, I will leave a full KDP course linked below. So definitely check that video out next. It's very thorough and very detailed. And people are actually saying that it's one of the best full KDP courses on YouTube. So I will leave that linked below if you want to check it out. So when it comes to building our table of contents and our outline for our book, we of course are going to use AI, specifically ChatGPT. We're going to first create our table of contents, and then we're going to build out our book outline from that table of contents. But let's go and build our table of contents and our outline. So this is the table of contents prompt here. I'm not going to read it because it is a little bit long, but you can simply insert a few specific things like your book topic and some competitor books. and ChatGPT will build you a table of contents based on this. You can also add anything else if you do have a specific vision for the book. So I simply put this prompt in ChatGPT, and of course it did come back with a table of contents for me. It did a quick overview of some other books, then dove into the table of contents. So it did build out a 3-phase system, basically a 30-day backyard starter plan for beginner beekeepers. And overall, I really like the structure of it. So when you are creating high content books like cookbooks, beginner books, they are very straightforward. They're not anything super complex. So most likely the first prompt that ChatGPT comes back with will be good and will be definitely a book worth creating, but I would just go through it, make sure it makes sense, and then you can start to build out the actual outline from there. The important thing is when you are creating high content books, you do want to have a competitive edge of some sort. In this example, it is a 30-day backyard guide. So it's not just the simple beekeeping for beginners. It's clearly outlining the plan that the customer is getting, and they can picture the end result. Within 30 days, they're going to have an actual hive in their backyard. That's way more desirable than just an open-ended beginner's book. Once you do that, you can go to prompt number 2, which is actually building your book outline, and simply put this in ChatGPT in the same chat as your table of contents, and it will build out your book outline, starting with chapter 1, based on your table of contents. And as you can see, it started to build out chapter 1 after I prompted it. Chapter 1, Welcome to the Hive Life. So this was chapter 1 in the introduction section of the table of contents it gave me. And as you can see, it's a well-structured book outline. Basically, what we want to look for is headings, subheadings, and a few of these for each chapter, just like this. And then, of course, some resources throughout. So you can also prompt ChatGPT further to give you some actual resources to go alongside this, some blog posts, some videos, just so your ghostwriter has more to work off of. But ideally, we do have a few resources for each section of each chapter. You can just give your ghostwriter a rough structure and they will go and find some resources themselves. However, I like to guide them a bit more. It also gave me some workbook exercises and an action step if necessary. But once you build out your first chapter and you're happy with it, just continue to ask ChatGPT to build out the rest of the outline. This shouldn't take you too long. This is super easy. ChatGPT is getting better and better at doing this. And it's one of the easiest ways to build a high quality book outline for a high content book. And like I said, because we're just creating simple books for beginners, it's going to be very easy to do. So now when it comes to actually finding a writer, which is one of the biggest expenses when it comes to high content books, there are a few things we can do to get this cost down. The first one is we want to go to the Urban Writers and use their AI and writer package. Basically, a ghostwriter uses AI alongside writing the book. This really brings the cost down, as well as if we want to bring the cost down even further, we can make our book only 20,000 words. So we can specify this when we are filling out our Urban Writers project. And if we are creating a basic cookbook or fitness book, we should be able to get away with this. So the process is very simple to go through to post a project. And when you do go through it, it will specify how much it's actually going to cost. But if you use the AI package, which is perfectly fine, just make sure you go over the book and make sure it is high quality. And if you pair that with low words, it will be really inexpensive to write your book. So now when it comes to our title and description, once again, I will have this prompt below in the Google Doc. It will actually create your title and your description together, so it saves a lot of time. But basically, here's the prompt here. You're just going to want to fill it out with the information for your book. And then once again, we can paste it into ChatGPT. It's going to come back with 10 title options for us and a completed book description. So just go over the book description, make sure it does sound nice. This prompt actually works pretty well. Most likely the book description will be fine. I do recommend removing things like these headers here, but the important thing is the structure itself. You have a hook, you have what the book offers and some desirable features. You have who it for, how it helps, why it stands out compared to other books, as well as a call to action at the end. So read it over, make sure it sounds great, remove any headings that you need to that doesn't make sense, and also update any text or prompt it further if you want to change certain parts. And then when it comes to the titles themselves, we just want to look for something that clearly tells the customer what the book is about. It's in line with our structure. In this case, it's a 30-day guide to starting a beehive. And then the subtitle clearly explains what the book is about without being too long. So we have a few options here. Hive starts from 0 to beekeeper, beginner beekeeper in 30 days. The 30-day beekeeper, I think this is my favorite. It's just short, it's punchy, it's very clear what it is. And then if you pair that with a winning subtitle, it's a very desirable thing to read. The 30-day beekeeper, everything you need to build your hive, raise bees, and harvest honey. There's no reason why somebody wouldn't click on this book if it is packaged nicely with some reviews and a good cover. So I will go through and look at the other subtitles. I do think the 30-day beekeeper is good. What I might add to this is something extra to the main title just to help with ranking, just to ensure that it does get prioritized. So we could do the 30-day beekeeper, a beginner's guide to beekeeping, and then go into a subtitle like your 30-day guide to starting, caring for, and harvesting from your first hive. So normally I will mix and match the subtitles and titles that are here and just find something that works the best for the book. And that sounds good. So I do like the 30-day beekeeper, a beginner's guide to beekeeping, your 30-day guide to starting, caring for, and harvesting from your first hive, sorry. But the big thing with your book title is how you actually create and structure your book. We'll change this because it is a 30-day guide. That's what is desirable. If you just have a simple beginner's guide to beekeeping, it's very limited what you can title it. That's why it's good to think of your structure and how can you stand apart from your competitors, and then that can be easily showcased in your title and on your cover. So now when it comes to your cover and your A+ content, these are the few things I do want to outsource. A good cover design and good A+ content will create a cohesive brand. You'll come across as a credible author, and it's the best way to stand out from your competitors. So in my opinion, we should be going to Fiverr. This is a great place to get inexpensive book covers and A+ content, and just simply find some designers that have a good price range, they have good reviews, they have a good portfolio based on their previous work. And then from there, we can give them some notes to further kind of guide them to what we're looking for. So once again, there will be some cover designer notes in the Google Doc below, but basically they will look like this. So I've done a lot of the work for you. It will guide the designer to what you're looking for and what makes a good book cover, so you don't have to learn it yourself and then create this yourself. Just copy paste this, give it to them. However, I will say you should go to your keyword, take some screenshots and include them. This will help the designer to make your book cover just stand out from the competitors. As well as you can also include some best-selling books of cover designs that you like or things that are selling well on your topic, because the more you guide them, the better cover they're going to come back with. So you can go to Fiverr, you can type in nonfiction book cover and just find some designers, like I said, that have some good portfolios. So this one actually looks pretty good here. I really like the designs that they're showcasing. And if you pair a good designer at a reasonable price with some good guidance like the notes below, there's no reason why you can't work with them and create a really high quality book cover. So now it comes to the final and one of the most important parts of the process, and that is our book launch. In my opinion, this is where most people fall short. And of course, your book and your topic are extremely important. However, even if you nail those two things and you don't nail your book launch, your book's not going to sell. So we do have to ensure that we nail it so we actually give our book a chance. So when it comes to our book launch, there are three main parts of this. The first one is review prep, so we can actually get enough reviews for launching our book. The second thing is we actually publish our book and it goes live, which is day 1 to 7. And then we have day 7 to 30, which is when we actually start to drive traffic to it. So for review prep, all we're going to do is use a site like BookBounty. This allows you to review other books and build up currency. And then when our book is live, we can redeem that currency for reviews. Ideally, you do this at least a month in advance and save up at least about 50,000 of the currency. But the more you prep and the more you get, the better your launch is going to go. Because if you only have enough of this currency to get maybe 20 or 30 reviews, it's not going to be the same as if you can get 70 or 100. So I will say take the time and prep for this. It's a very important part of your launch. Now, once we publish our book, it's very simple. All we're going to do is publish it at a discount. Our ebook will be 99 cents and our paperback will be $9.99. This is very standard for a high content launch. From there, we can actually run a free promo. So if our book is enrolled in KDP Select, you can run a free promo in the marketing tab of your KDP dashboard. And this is when we're going to get reviews. So I recommend redeeming all the currency you've built on this free promo. BookBounty is a very good site for getting reviews. It's almost a guarantee you will get all your currency's worth of reviews just on this 5-day free promo. But once your book is live, it's discounted, it has a bunch of reviews, ideally as much as you can get. That's when we can start to drive sales to it. So day 7 to 30 of our launch, all we're doing is driving sales to our book through Amazon ads. And the Amazon ads that I like to run are a simple product targeting campaign, target all the relevant products in your topic, a simple keyword targeting campaign, target all the relevant keywords in your topic. Don't go too broad, make sure they are specific enough. We're not going to be spending money for no reason. It's only going to be targeting places that are relevant. And you can start these campaigns at anywhere from $5 to $20 a day and then raise them if they are performing. I do go over my Amazon ads process in detail in the full KDP course below. So if you're looking for a more in-depth guide, definitely check out that video. But this is the simple launch process that works very, very well. The most important thing is we're doing enough review prep to actually get enough reviews for our launch, ideally 50 to 100. We're discounting our book, getting our reviews fast, which can be done on the free promo, and then we drive as much sales as we can afford to it. This is going to help our book rank better and eventually be ranking on page 1 of our search term. And if our book is ranking on page 1 of our search term, there's high demand, it's desirable, it has enough reviews for social proof, you will get organic sales. And so the goal for our book launch is to make our book desirable with our reviews and our price. We want to drive sales through Amazon ads. That will push our book to get ranking on page 1 of our search term. And then from there, once our book is ranking or starting to rank, we want to continue to push our book to 100 reviews and beyond. We don't want to stop at 40 reviews. That's one of the biggest things I see with all the coaching calls I've done. I think I've done over 150 one-on-one coaching calls. And a big thing I see is people with books that have 20, 30, 40 reviews, and they never push their book far enough to actually get results. We have to make sure that we're actually putting our book in a position where it should sell. Because if we just have an okay book with an okay cover with maybe 30 reviews, there's no reason it should sell, because there are other books with a strong title, a strong cover, 150 reviews, and that's what's going to get the sales. It's not that the keyword or topic is bad, it's that we didn't execute our book properly or launch it correctly enough so that we put it in a position where it makes sense that it sells. And then day 30 plus of our launch, we simply want to raise the price of our book. From there, we want to optimize our ads for longevity. We then want to push our book even further to 150 reviews and above, and we can do this over a few months. It doesn't have to be right away. So what I like to do is run that free promo every 90 days, which you're allowed to do. And in between that time, I'm going to be building up my currency. So I have roughly around 50,000 of the currency every 90 days. And then I can continually add anywhere from 20 to 40 reviews on my book every few months. Then over 6 to 8 months, I'm going to easily get 150 plus. And then from there, we move on to the next book. We take what we've learned, we improve if there is places to improve, and we just rinse and repeat this process. So what the 1% of publishers do to actually get books that sell is exactly the launch process. Most people will just launch a book, get a few reviews, and they'll never actually see it through to any results. But the 1% of publishers will publish a book in a high demand topic. They will prepare for their reviews so they get at least 75 at launch. They will run aggressive ads to their discounted book to force it into the rankings, even if they take a loss in this first month. And then they're going to continue to get reviews over the next 90 days to make sure their book actually gets solidified in the rankings and becomes one of the best options to buy. And then over a long period of time, over a year, they're continuing to gather reviews and getting it to 400 plus to the point where their book is so established in that topic that it's never going to stop selling. As long as there is demand for that topic, it will always sell. And so we have to find a good topic, prepare adequately for our reviews, launch it aggressively, and continue to see it through for months and even years. So that is exactly how to publish high content books on easy mode. I hope this video really opened your mind to what's possible, motivated you to start publishing high content books because they aren't as hard or as expensive as you think, and there's so much potential with them. So once again, I will leave that full KDP course linked below if you're looking for a more in-depth walkthrough. However, if you are done with YouTube videos and you just want to follow my exact step-by-step approach in detail with handheld guidance along the way, there will be another link for that as well. That's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one.